Alright, back again, Luke here. And today what I thought I'd do is make a video for many people who had requested to see the different kinds of arcade hardware that I put videos up on, like how they're attached, what kind of peripherals you need, what makes them work, things like that. So this video here, I figured I'd try and make a video that kind of answers some of those questions. I might not be able to go into like extreme detail with some of these boards, but if you need any other information on them, they can easily be found on Wikipedia, or you can go over and check the System 16 website. There's a lot of information over there as well, as far as different games go, the hardware settings, all of the different chips on the board, how fast the CPU is, things like that. But I'll try and give you guys a little bit of an idea here as to what I use and how I hook it up here, and hopefully it'll explain a little bit more of these systems in detail, and you'll get a deeper look into what the requirements are for these things to get them running. So let's see here. For the first one, let's try this. Well, these are going to be kind of fun to balance on my leg. This first system here, this is the Namco System 246. And this is one that you've probably seen in some of my videos that I put up recently. This system can play quite a few different games. The 246 is really a great system. It's based off of the PlayStation 2, and you'll even be able to see, I don't know, it's kind of scratched off here, but at the top, that used to say Magic Gate, just like the PlayStation 2 memory card. And with this system here, there are many different revisions. There's revision A, B, C. This one here, I believe, is revision C. But A looks a little bit different, has a little bit more of the circuitry on the outside here, and has a different color. I think it was even red. And B and C, they both look a little different. I'm trying to remember. Maybe this is B. C is more or less like a thicker tower, and it has a few different extensions on the side of it. As for this system here, there is an I/O board. These I/O boards are the input-output boards, and each one is pretty much standard for each specific system. There's one that will play most fighting games. This one here, if you take a look at it, it says System 246, it says JAMA B, PCB on it. And without this I/O board here, you can't run the system. You need this in order to be able to plug it into your JAMA harness. And with this board here, it does have different pinouts for it as far as the kick harness goes. It has the audio, left and right channel that plug into the system. It has the video cable which plugs into the system, and also has a ribbon cable over here which plugs into the motherboard. And once you get this all plugged in here, it has your power settings here as well, your power inputs. So once you get all this plugged in, you can basically play the game. It doesn't take much more than that. That is to play most games. Now, let me see here, I'm probably going to be jumping around. On the inside here, there's a screw, and if you take this screw off, you'll open up a compartment, which will actually have a spot for a memory card. Now, the game system itself comes with a disc, a game disc. As you can see, this one's Tekken 4. It also comes with a specific memory card. If you don't have this specific memory card for the specific game, you can't play it. It's locked. So these cards are very important that you don't lose them. You don't, you know, corrupt them. Don't try and do anything strange with them, like try and copy them or anything like that. Because from what I know, these things are pretty hard to copy. But yeah, you have to have the chip and you have to have the disc in order to run the system. If both aren't working perfectly, sometimes what you'll get is if you have a dirty card and you don't have it clean, you put it in and you put the disc in, sometimes the game won't start up. So one thing to make sure of is just like your regular carts that you put into, you know, cart-based games, make sure you clean this thing out before you pop it in there. Many different kinds of games for it. These two here are both fighting ones. If you get into the more dedicated cabinets, you're going to need a different I/O. And that's where these things can get really frustrating, is that if you don't have a specific I/O board for a specific game, then you can't play the game. It'll just say I/O board not recognized, or I/O board different from specifications, or something not found. So it can be really, really irritating. There are quite a few games that I still want to do a review on for this system, but unfortunately I don't have the I.O. boards for it yet, so I can't do it. One of those games being this. This is Ridge Racer 5, and you know, once again, here's the disc for it. You can see it says Ridge Racer 5, and it has the specific memory card for it. Now, I do have, you know, I have everything ready to go. I have the system, I have this, but I don't have the I.O. board, so I can't play this. This is one of the games that I just can't use just yet until I find that I.O. And it's going to take a little bit of hunting there because it's pretty rare, pretty expensive as well. So that's a look at the System 246. There was also a System 256 that was made by Namco, and the 256 didn't have such a great selection of games. One of the games that it did have, which was kind of cool, which a lot of people buy the system for, is Tekken 5, Dark Resurrection. But other than that, not so great. Not so many great games. But the 246 had a lot of good ones. Moving on here to the next system, what we'll jump into here is some Sega-based hardware. And the Sega-based hardware is fantastic, and the main reason why is because a lot of the Sega peripherals can be interchanged with the different hardware. It's one thing I really love about the systems, and there's quite a few in the series that can do this, but I'll let you take a look here. This one's going to be fun. Alright, see if we can do this without... I think this thing's caught here. Got cables all over the place. Now this is a monster setup, and I apologize for not making this probably as easy as it should be. But this is the Sega Naomi setup. Actually, this is a Sega Naomi 2. With the Sega Naomi 2, it's massive. If you look at all the different peripherals it needs to start up, it's quite a lot. I mean, you need your I.O. board. On top here, you need your RAM board, which is to store the information and has a security key spot. You need your motherboard, you need a PC power supply, and if you want to play GD ROM games, you need the GD ROM drive. It's just a lot of wires here. Before we get into this one, let's take a look at the first one. This is the original Naomi. Now, the original Naomi here has a lot of great games on it. Most of them are basically cart-based. So you have a specific cart here. For example, Slash Out. So Slash Out, you'll see, is the bottom part of the PCB, and the top part is plastic. With it, there's an arrow on it, just like on the Dreamcast. You'll see there's an arrow there, and there's the part of the arrow down here. You'll just fit this on top, and you need to press down firmly on each side, just to make sure it has a good seat. And it'll fit in just like that. With the Naomi games and the Naomi system, they were both based in white, so it was really easy to tell. You know, the white cards go with the white system, not so difficult. But with the Naomi 1, there were some restrictions on it. It would only play Naomi 1 carts, and some of the later games that were made for the Naomi 2 required a lot more power, so you couldn't use them on a Naomi 1. That's why only Naomi 1 carts will work with a Naomi 1 system. Now, once again, when you get into Naomi games, you have to be careful because some games require specific I.O. boards or specific peripherals. One of those games, I guess we could leave this one in here, being this, another game which I haven't been able to put a review up on yet because I don't have the peripherals for it, but that is the Typing of the Dead. Now, with the Typing of the Dead, you need the specific keyboard, which is very similar to the Sega Dreamcast keyboard. And this hardware here, I haven't mentioned it yet, but this hardware runs off of basically the same hardware as the Sega Dreamcast. This is the Sega Dreamcast arcade version. So, but yeah, once again, I don't have the keyboard for this game, so I can't play it. I mean, I can watch it, but it's not really very entertaining. It would really be nice to play, but I need to get the peripherals and the hookups for that so I can get this going. So you have to be careful with what kind of games you decide to buy for the system, and make sure you do some research as to what peripherals, what sort of I.O. boards they need, because if you just get a regular game, you think it's a regular game, you go to plug it in, sometimes it'll come up with the error, I.O. board not correct, or I.O. board error, something like that, which usually means you don't have the correct I.O. for it. With this system here, you'll notice on the side it has a lot of the ports built in here. This is for your I/O board. This is where the cable connects in there. And this is basically just a printer cable. It connects into the side there and then connects into the I/O. Here are your two different power sources. One of these goes into the system and then the other one goes to the GD ROM drive. Here's your video out, which is nice because you can just connect the video cable here, if you want to, directly to your monitor, or you can run it through the I/O board and then run it through a JAMA connector. If you decide to run it through this, it works out really well. It can run at 15 kilohertz, or it can run at 31. So those are the two options, which can be changed by the dip switches here, which is really nice. And then you have your audio outs on the side. That's basically this system here. With the Naomi 2, unfortunately, I don't have very many, well, I don't have any cart-based Naomi 2 games. There was a couple of them like Wild Riders and like something Kart. It wasn't like Mario Kart or anything like that, but something Kart, which was only specific for this game, this system. But going back to this system here, as you take a look at it, you can see everything kind of wired up. Now, for this Dimmboard, if you don't have this Dimmboard here, you can't run the GD ROM drive. The GD ROM drive connects here via cable, and it runs all of the information into this Dimmboard. The Dimmboard is kind of like just a ROM pack, and it stores all of the information temporarily. Inside these Dimmboards here, they have a battery pack. Usually, when you find one of these Dimmboards, they're usually, the battery pack is dead, which means it doesn't really save anything. Each time you turn the system off and you turn it back on again, you have to reload all of the data, and it takes some time. If you do repair that battery, or you get a new battery for it, you can run all the information here from the disk drive. You can run it into the Dimmboard, and the Dimmboard will save it. And then when you go to turn it back on again, you don't have to wait for all the loading. It just kind of takes it from the battery, which is nice. The Dimmboard itself, there are two different versions. There's a regular Dimmboard, and then there's a network kind of Dimmboard. And the major difference you'll see between the two of those is with the net Dimmboard, you'll see that there's an Ethernet cable here, or an Ethernet port, that'll allow it to connect to the Ethernet. And a lot of people nowadays, what they're doing is they are connecting via the Ethernet port to emulators, and they're streaming emulators from their computer onto their Dimmboard and then into their cab, and it works out really well. Other than that, if you want to run games, you're going to need a couple of things here, especially for the GD ROM. Well, once again, we're getting into the security chip issue here. Here's a good example. This is Dynamic Golf, and this is one that I actually got from Moomert1. And Dynamic Golf here is a US game, but it will play in this Naomi system. Unfortunately, Dynamic Golf is one of those games that requires a specific I/O. So when I go to put this game in, it says I/O not found, or I/O something about the I/O being wrong. So I can't use the game. I mean, it'll read it, and it'll basically install it, but then it'll tell me I don't have the right I/O, so I can't use it. But once again, you'll see that the disc itself has Naomi written on it. Sometimes on the disc, it'll say for Naomi 2 only, and I don't think I have any examples right here, right now, that I can show you. Let's see. No, I don't think so. Got a couple of games here. Woo! Nope, these ones both say for use with Naomi system. Yeah, so all these are just Naomi based. But with the chip that's in this, you'll take the chip out and try and open this up. I have no idea how long this has taken so far, but you'll take this security chip, and the security chip actually has a regular IC in the bottom. And you'll pop this in here and play some of that. But the chip goes into the Dimmboard, and as you can see here, it just kind of pushes in and locks into place. You'll see that this part actually pushes up. Once you have the chip in, then inside your drive, there's usually a screw here that's holding the drive cover on. But what I've done is remove the screw, and this thing just twists off. And you put in your disc, and then you close the lid back up. Without the lid on, it will not start up, and you have to specifically turn it all the way, because if it's not completely engaged, it won't close the door. So that's the other part for it. With a lot of these GD ROM drives, a lot of people have stopped using them due to the introduction of flash drives. If you do have one of these DIMM boards, they do sell flash drives now, and you can kind of get a universal key like this, and it's a universal chip which will play anything. With that universal chip and the flash drive, people are just, you know, downloading, copying all the different games in the library and then just plugging that in and being able to play their games like that. Also, some people do use it as a backup, kind of a backup way of playing different games. And it does work out a lot better. It kind of reduces the loading time, but if that drive goes bad, then you have to get another replacement one. So for myself, I do like the disk drives. They work out really well. It's kind of what they were intended for, so I use them here. And here is, once again, here's a take a little bit of a look at the DIMM board, or the I/O setup. Got all this like balancing on here. As you can see, all the wires are connected up through here. This is one of several different kinds of I/Os that are sold. This is a Capcom I/O. And it's a well sought after one. This is one that works out very well. There's another Capcom one, I believe, that's much bigger. It's a black color, and that's also one that's sought after, just because these are really well designed, really well built. But the cords plug into the back here, and then you have your JAMA harness up front, and you just pop that on and play some of that. I'm going to keep using that as many times as I can this video. But that is the Naomi 2. So, let's see if we can move this around here without damaging anything. Unfortunately, the lack of space is going to be a problem. Alright, next up is another system here, which is in the kind of Sega, let's see, Sega group, and let me try and grab one of these here. Alright. And that is this system here. Now this one is a parts one, unfortunately, because my other one is sitting up top. But that is this. You'll hear some screws kind of falling around. This is a Triforce. Now the Triforce is based off of the GameCube hardware. The reason why it's called the Triforce is because there were 3 companies that went in on this. And you can see down here at the bottom, you can see there's Namco, Sega, and Nintendo. All 3 companies decided to join forces, if you want to, and made the Triforce, which, like I had mentioned, it's based off of the GameCube hardware. The Triforce can play different games, for example, Mario Kart, it can play F-Zero, and another one that's very popular is the, Virtual Soccer, which is one that a lot of people have usually in the... for the system, because it's one of the easier games to get a hold of. And this is what it looks like, the software. I don't have the key for this one in here. I think it might be in one of the other systems, but you'll notice that there's a specific color for each one of the systems too, as far as the discs go. You can see this, there's a difference between this and then with the System 256, there's a different game, 246, sorry, different color. Especially with the Naomi here, you can see it's got an orange color. This one's got the purple color, kind of matched the system. But this system here is really, really fun. It's really cool. And one nice thing about this system here with the Triforce is that you can connect the DIMM board from the, Naomi 2? That DIMM board plugs in here. This is a version 1. It won't work on, for example... If you have, this is the version 3. This is also the Triforce, but this Triforce here is the ones that you usually find in the Mario Kart games, or for the Mario Kart machines. It's kind of got a corner, a beveled corner around the side there, and it'll show you all the information and the specs on it. This thing has 512 megs of memory in it, so it works out really well, and it's, in fact, there are some games that are specifically only available for the Model 3 version, and there are some that'll only work for the Model 1. And you can probably guess already, you know, the ones that'll work for the Model 3 are the ones that are more basically running off of the Naomi drive, and the ones that are based on the first one here are going to be like more of the kart-based ones. However, the Model 1 and the Model 3 can sometimes play the same game. So I'll put this down here, and you can hear all the screws in there. That one's really, really bad. Unfortunately, when the fans overheat in these systems, they cause a lot of damage to the board itself. This one has an overheated chip on it, which when I go to plug it in, you guys might have seen it a long time ago, but the screen comes up with like a glitchy Triforce logo, and it's really hard to see. If you unplug the fan, let it overheat, it comes out a little bit more, but yeah, it has a bad chip. So with the Triforce here, once again, this is part of Sega, and with Sega, they really tried to make this universal. And you'll notice here on the side, it has the video out ports. It has the security chip. This is the same kind of security chip as what the Naomi uses. Not the same security chip and not the same software, but the same kind of security chip. You'll notice here it says GD ROM drive. What's nice about the Triforce is that you can use the Naomi GD ROM on it. So even though it says Naomi on it, when you have the cable plugged in here and you have it plugged in here, as well as the power source, which is on the end here, plug that in, and you have all your video hooked up, you can run the games off of this drive. And that's the only way that you can play games, for example, like the Triforce game. It'll fit right inside this this drive, and it'll play just like the Naomi. So they share the same drive, which is really, really nice. So for those of you who are trying to get into some of this Sega arcade hardware, you'll find that there's a lot of great parts to it, and one of those being the fact that the hardware shares some of the similar parts. So moving on here, let's see. One system that I don't have laying around here is another one that's in the series, and that is the Sega Chihiro. Now the Chihiro, once again, you can see that it has a different logo on it. This is along with the same series, and the Sega Chihiro hardware runs off of, or it's based off of the Xbox, the original Xbox. So with the original Xbox, it has some fantastic games on it. The Chihiro has was it Wangan Midnight, the racing one, which is what this one is. It has House of the Dead 3 on it. Has a really good selection of games. I think Ghost Squadron is another one that's on the Chihiro, but a lot of fantastic games. And once again, this here will work with the Naomi GD ROM drive. It's all interchangeable, and it plays, you know, fantastic. It works really well. You can see the security chips are the same as well, so another great system to have. And unfortunately, I don't have it right now, but I'll try and find it. You can imagine where it is inside this room. Let's see here. Getting into some monsters. This one's going to be fun. Alright. This one's a little bit more, challenging. Let me see if I can disconnect some of these connectors here for the I/O. Make this a little bit lighter, because as it is right now, it's quite heavy. This is the Sega Lindbergh hardware. And with the Lindbergh, you can see this is a monster. This is getting into more of like the PC-based hardware. If you take a look at the Lindbergh here on the side, this is the, basically it's a PC. With the Lindbergh, what you need is a specific I/O that, well, you need an I/O card here, which plugs in here. You also need your sound card, which plugs in here. Without these two, you won't be able to get any sound, and without this I/O card here, just for the card on the inside, you won't be able to play anything. This thing is very important. You need to have that. You'll notice here is another I/O, and this I/O board here is one that is designed for specific games, like for fighting games or for, what is it? I think this one can also be used for racing games, but these I/Os are quite challenging as well, because if you don't have a specific I/O for a certain game, you won't be able to play it. However, you can sometimes manipulate the I/Os, and you can change them around to where they will work. One good example of that is if you've seen my Sega Race TV. That video that I put up with Sega Race TV, or with, what was the other one? Initial D 5. those are all basically running off of this I/O board here, which isn't intentionally made for the steering setup, but I cut and chopped and did some kind of wild stuff and was able to get it to work off of this I/O. And sometimes you can do that. For other games, it's really impossible. But this system here, once again, is PC-based. It's very similar to PlayStation 3, running off of PlayStation 3 hardware. And it's a fantastic setup. It's quite expensive, and it is quite a bit of a challenge to try and get everything up and running because you do need a lot. You also need a specific, you can see this here is the power supply. This power supply is pretty massive, and the whole system itself weighs a ton. It's not exactly the lightest thing in the world, but I've been trying to wire up different games for it. I still haven't had a chance to wire up, was it Afterburner Climax, just because it needs a specific board, but yeah. Put that down there for now. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of some of the differences here, or some of the parts that you need for some of this arcade hardware. And there are some parts that are really complex, some parts that look more complex than what they actually are, and some parts that even I, to this day, I'm still in the process of trying to know the ins and outs of it so I can get some of this stuff running. But a lot of great games, a lot of stuff that can be enjoyed if you do have an arcade machine and you're interested in trying to get into some of this more extensive arcade hardware than just a regular arcade PCB. I would totally recommend taking a look at some of these systems. There are still some systems out there that I haven't covered. One of those happens to be my Konami PC-based hardware, which I have over here in the corner. You probably seen a video of that many years ago when I put that up, or a couple of years ago at least. And some other ones like the Taito X2 hardware, which has some fantastic games on it. Has a lot of Darius games on it. Has King of Fighters 13 on it. Has some great games, but unfortunately that's some hardware that I don't have. And some of the some of the most recent Sega hardware is the Sega Ring Edge and the Sega Ring Wide. The Ring Wide and the Ring Edge are a little bit different in the fact that the Ring Wide has, I believe, 8 gigs of hard drive space. No, it's not hard drive space. I think maybe it's flash memory or hard drive space. I'm not sure. And the Sega Ring Edge has about 4 times as much as that. And it's kind of the higher end model is the Ring Edge. Usually has a gold logo on it, and the Ring Wide, I believe that's it, has a blue logo on it. But it's the difference between like a let me see, a Mercedes kind of van, you know, for the family versus, you know, a real Mercedes, like, you know, sports car. So they're still along the same lines, but, you know, you have the Ring Edge is the more higher end on there. But lots of different stuff, and lots and lots to talk about in just one video, but hopefully you guys got a little bit of insight from this, and hopefully it was a little bit informative, and I was able to help you guys out a little bit as far as making a decision on which hardware you might be interested in buying, and you know, what you'll need to get it. But that's about all for me for right now. Like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching. Whee!